So, the other day, I came across a very interesting tweet. And it already circled on a topic that I had been kind of pumped about ever since the new season of the Ultimatum came out. But we're going to get to that soon. First, let me read this tweet to you. It says, how can women with their husbands go to the beach or pools or even on vacation with other couples where all of the wives are in bikinis or thongs? I wouldn't be okay having my husband intentionally seeing other women practically naked. Are you women okay with this? If you don't know me, my name is Denzel Mensah. I'm a life, personal development, and relationship coach. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a dicey topic having to do with possessiveness, jealousy, insecurities, and essentially keeping your partner trapped in a metaphorical cage. Let's get it. Now, I want to say that I think that this woman is being pretty earnest. I think that, I don't really know her life. She can't help that she's insecure, at least how I perceive it. And she can't help that she has these thoughts. And maybe she was just being very transparent and honest rather than judgmental when she was posting this. But it was very sad to see that. And a very dear mutual of mine, who happens to also be INTJ and everything, I really tend to get along with her a lot. And I love her takes. She responded or quoted the tweet saying, yes, because women's bodies are not sexual objects to be objectified. I'm also not insanely insecure. I'm curious on her take of men in bathing suits who are also practically naked. I imagine she doesn't care and neither does her husband. It's giving misogyny. I responded saying, yeah, it's sad when I see couples like this, to be honest. I feel like if you're really threatened by other people in this way to the level where you are actively trying to avoid your partner seeing other people at the beach, you probably shouldn't be with them in a relationship. And then she responded, absolutely. It's showing a distrust in your partner. And if you don't trust them, why would you be with them and even go so far as to marry them? Other people are not the issue. Their insecurity and controlling nature is the issue. And I completely agree. I see this all the time. And I think that one of the biggest misconceptions that our society has, and you guys know I talk about love, I talk about relationships and stuff all the time. But what I see very often in our society is that we tend to believe that the more possessive you are, the more jealous and insecure that you might be about a relationship, then the more that you love the person. And I don't really think that that's how that works. I think that this is actually also obviously not even just a women problem. I think it's a man problem. I mean, if anything, I think that men probably have it worse. Not have it worse, as in like men are probably worse about this. And I saw a reel on Instagram that kind of highlighted this literally right before I started recording this video. I already wrote down the notes and everything that I wanted to make for this video. And then my friend Jessica, shout out to you, she actually sent me this reel a few days ago and I was just able to look at it. And I want y'all to check this out because it's so perfect and it's so timely.
I feel like women love more. I think on average, I think women are more emotionally mature. And I think that love outside of like the fairy tale bullshit requires a lot of actual like emotional upkeep, a lot of emotional labor. I think a lot of guys can't put that in. I don't think feeling possessive or jealous is love. Just because you get like really ass mad if your woman does something, or if you get like really jealous or possessive of a woman doesn't mean you love her more. So
I disagree. I think men love far more than women do. And I think men are closer to loving idealistically because men love women under far less conditions than women love men.
That sounds like the opposite of love to me.
Well,
if you love under far less conditions, that sounds like desperation.
But what I'm saying is that if you take a majority of men versus a majority of women, a majority of men would like a majority of women. However, a majority of women definitely don't like a majority of men.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think women love more, because when they pick somebody, they're selective about it. They put more time and energy into it, for sure. Whereas for a guy, the woman is a lot more replaceable. That's why even Sneeko over here was like, oh, you know, you might step out and f another bitch or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, how much do you actually love your woman? Are you willing to do something like that? Like,
that has nothing to do with how much you love the person.
It absolutely does.
Why?
Because it requires you to step out of your own selfish frame of reference to see how your partner feels about something. If you only prioritize the things that you want in life, that says something about how you view love of another person.
It's not really prioritizing, it's just doing what you want to do.
Yeah, that's called being selfish. It's usually what you do when you don't love somebody.
That was a mic drop. Like, honestly speaking, it was insane to me how these men weren't even seeing where they were going wrong. And this, again, I mean, they were arguing like, you know, men versus women and stuff like that, whatever. But I just think that it's a natural human being problem that a lot of us tend to be so incredibly possessive, and then we take pride in that possessiveness and don't see that it's actually a lot of times seated insecurity. Not always, but a lot of times it's seated in insecurity. You're afraid of something that you believe is yours or that belongs to you is now going to be taken from you, or it tends to come from people who have a scarcity mindset on love. And that's a whole other topic, you know, on the infinite amounts of love that can be produced and how much love is not scarce. But again, that's a whole different topic. I've done other videos on love, like, you know, the different types of love according to the Greeks. I've done videos on platonic intimacy, being able to show and express deep and intense levels of love in a platonic friendship. You know, I've done videos on even like, can women and men be friends, you know? And I've done a lot of videos on these kinds of things. I even did a video on love itself, like the power of love. So if you want to check out any of those and get even more of my thoughts on what this huge concept of love is and what my views on love is, then definitely go and check those out. But yeah, in this video, we're really highlighting like how possessiveness tends to be a big thing when it comes to how people view love in our society. And I don't think that it's right. Now, I'm not saying that if you're possessive, that you don't love your partner. And I'm not saying that it's bad to be possessive, but I think that it's bad to confuse being possessive with loving your partner more or with loving a person more. Some people even start to think like, oh, if you're not possessive, that means that you don't really love me. And that's a very unhealthy mindset to begin with, because a lot of times we aren't seeing that sometimes possessiveness is trapping a person in a cage. Let me elaborate on that. So as I was saying, I started watching the show The Ultimatum on Netflix recently, and that show infuriated me. Now, as an ENFJ social sexual 9 who happens to also be a relationship coach, and the most interesting and intriguing concept that I always tend to dissect and discuss is relationships. Man, seeing those people who were around the same age as me, a lot of them even older, have such immature views, or what I consider to be immature views of relationships, was maddening. Now, I watched it with my wife and a lot of friends, and well, 2 other friends. And it was interesting to, like, you know, pause and discuss amongst ourselves, like, okay, we think that this is going to happen. We think that that's going to happen. Or like, oh, this is what we think. And like seeing like what they thought about certain situations and how we're perceiving different things. I just think that it's also worth saying that I was right about literally everything. I was even right about, oh, I guess like, so-and-so, she's acting very weird. Like, she must be hormonal, like pregnant or something like that. And lo and behold, we find out that she was. And then I also predicted that everybody was pretty much going to end up with the same person that they came with and certain things. Yeah, all of that. FENI on point. All right, that's enough bragging. But anyway, should I delete that? I don't know. But I'm just proud of myself. Like, that was pretty dope. Anyway, from watching that, it was very maddening to see scenes such as the partners bringing their partner onto the ultimatum, knowing what this show is about, and then saying things like, you better not fall for anybody, or you better not, like, you know, actually like somebody else, like, while we're here. That's the whole point of the show. Like, it's to see, hey, do I actually feel more connected to this other person enough to leave my current partner? And if that's the case, you should probably let them go. Because if you're keeping them caged and saying you better not leave this cage, well then, does that bird actually belong to you? Does the bird actually want to stay in the cage? Or is it just afraid to leave because you're threatening it? That's not love. Now, there's some people who open up this metaphorical cage and they're like, yeah, I leave the cage open, but every morning and every night they tell the bird, like, you better not leave, and something like that. Or like they kind of give this almost maybe even implicit kind of thing of like, yeah, even though the cage is open, you can't like walk out. It reminds me of sometimes like when I used to ask my mom, like, oh, I want to go play outside because, you know, the other kids from the neighborhood like came and knocked on the door and everything. And my mom, for whatever reason I don't recall right now, would not want me to play outside, and I'd get all upset. And then she opens the door, she said, fine, go play outside. Go. And I'm like looking at her, and even though she's directly telling me, almost demanding me to go play outside, I'm intuitively figuring out that I don't think that it's a smart idea to go play outside. But that's not because I don't actually want to go play outside. It's because I'm kind of being threatened not to go play outside, even though I'm being told to go play outside. So that door being open is not really the same as the cage actually being an open cage. I believe that if you really want to be in a healthy and secure and strong relationship, you should get to a point where you can keep that cage open and you're not necessarily telling your partner stuff like, you better not fall for somebody else, or like, you better not go to the beach and you start looking at people, whatever. But you just feel so comfortable and free to the point where you could take the person to the ultimatum. Like, even speaking for myself, like, I feel very strongly that if I were to go to the ultimatum with my beautiful, wonderful wife, Jamila, and she were to for whatever reason, like go and like, you know, stay, like have the experience with the other person and everything. Yeah, do I believe that maybe she'd find somebody attractive or whatever like that? Maybe she might even connect with somebody. Yeah, sure. But I would have confidence and security and just a lot of like strength in my mindset to believe like, but she's not going to fall for somebody. Like it's not going to get to a point where she's going to be like, man, I don't know who to choose, or boom, boom, boom. Like, because none of them are me. And the same for her. Like, she's light years ahead of everybody else. So even if I were to connect with somebody or like be attracted to somebody, whatever it might be, she can have security, almost cockiness to know like, but they're not Jamila. So, and I feel like that's where you've really attained a level of security in the relationship. Because now, if you see your partner speaking to somebody of the opposite gender, or in some cases the same gender, you're not threatened by that. You're not being possessive by it. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them. It just means that you're secure in that relationship. But if you are afraid, then number one, that's talking a lot about your insecurity. Or maybe the relationship itself is not secure, and that itself could be a red flag. And if that red flag is red enough, you should probably leave that partner. Recently, when I was in Ohio, then I was visiting my boys, Nick and Corey. We've been best friends ever since we were in second grade. And I was there with my wife, you know, and we were all at lunch. And I remember that my boy, Nick, we were all just talking. We were actually at breakfast. But anyway, we were all just talking about, like, I was trying to ask, like, Nick, like, yeah, so what type of girls you've been seeing and, like, what's your taste, you know, whatever. And he brought up an actress. I honestly forgot her name, but I think that it's the same woman from Free Guy. And I remember, and I told him like, oh, I remember watching that movie and I found her like attractive. And I guess you could call her like a crush, just simply because she intrigued me or whatever. And I really liked her accent, whatever like that. And she just had a really cool whatever. But then when her like real character was like shown, then, you know, she wasn't as appealing to me. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. But then Nick actually ended up revealing to me that her real accent actually was not the American accent that she was using for her real character, but it was actually something else. And I was like, oh, and I made a joke and I was like, well, Nick, I might have to steal her from you or something like that. And his twin brother, Corey, great guy. Obviously, he was just trying to like look out for me and everything like that. He was like, well, you have a great woman right there. And I started to laugh. And I had to like reestablish to Corey that like, hey, you know, like not in like a mean way, but like I'm not dumb. Like I know that Jamila, my wife, is sitting right here. But the thing is, she knows that this is literally jokes. Like I don't even remember this actress's name. And even if I were to meet her, there's no way in heaven that I'd even be like remotely interested to the point where I'm like, Jamila? No, absolutely not. It was just kind of like joke, banter, whatever you want to call it, just to say whatever. And I would have felt the same way if she also made comments about whoever she would have made comments about. Because again, it's about that security. But when I had explained this to Corey, then Corey was like, wow, that's just so interesting. I'm just, I'm just surprised that you didn't get like slapped in the face or whatever. And we kind of like laughed about this. And it's not to put his business out there or anything like that. But essentially, he had a relationship where his partner was very insecure in that way. Like every single day, she's like, so are you looking at other women right now? Or like, you totally check that girl out, whatever. And I think he asked Jamila this actually. He's like, hypothetically, like, what if there was just like a really attractive woman or whatever like that? And, she walks past and and like Denzel just happened to like look at her. And then, he just minded his own business. It's like afterwards, something like that. And then Jamila, and then he said, like, is that like a problem? And me and Jamila both pretty much agreed that, like, no, like, it's natural as a human being to notice attractive people. I notice attractive people. Jamila notices attractive people. And I even notice attractive guys. Like, I'm straight. There's nothing against, gay people or anything like that. I'm just saying, just so there's no confusion, I'm straight, but I'm secure enough in my sexuality to be able to be like, oh, I can definitely see how this guy probably gets other women, or how women would be attracted to this guy, and like, oh, he's a handsome looking guy or whatever like that. I notice these kinds of things. I'm sure that Jamila also notices like attractive men and attractive women or whatever. But I explained to Corey, like, there's a big difference between like noticing attractive people versus like, if you're somebody who's like, man, every time you see women, then you're just like, man, what I do to her, and boom, 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 boom. And you're just constantly like thinking about stuff like that. Now that's a problem. And then yes, now your partner does have a right to feel some type of way. But also, once again, if your partner feels that type of way, plus you are that type of person, your partner should not be with you. You probably shouldn't even be in a relationship, because why are you thinking this way about every woman or every man that you see? That's very different from just noticing that attractiveness. And this once again goes back to the whole idea of like, why do we try to hold on and be so possessive over people that really should not be in relationships with us? Now, we might, oh, but I love this person and all of that. But you can do better. That's my opinion. And that possessiveness is only digging you into a deeper hole. You now have that man or that woman in a cage, and you're always going to have some sort of like fear or anxiety that they're checking out other guys or checking out other women or whatever that might be. And now you're panicking over that. And I don't think that that's really a secure relationship, no matter how much you love the person, no matter how possessive you are of that person. That's not the type of relationship that might be ideal for you. And if you're that type of person, you should probably also work on building your confidence, but not just building confidence, but also finding somebody who won't really bring you to such levels to where now you do feel insecure in that way. It's a twofold type of thing. Now, I understand that there are different types of boundaries and different types of rules that relationships might have. I know of a friend who has a partner that even when somebody might be like just say like some sort of nickname, like if a female friend is just like, oh, hey, Meister or whatever it might be, then she's kind of like, oh, and like she sees it as like, well, he better not feed into that. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? Like, and she's like, yeah, it's just a respect thing. It's like, oh, okay, there's some people who just view certain things like differently. And that's not really like a bad thing. But then there's also other things that are just quite simply absurd. Like I know of someone who has a boyfriend or who had a boyfriend that every single time this person was talking to any of her guy friends, then the boyfriend was pissed. He was livid, and it just didn't make sense to him, because in his head, he's like, I don't have any female friends because I only view females as one way. That's pretty much like how it is, you know. And so obviously, if I only view women in this way and I'm respectful enough to you to not have any female friends, why do you have guy friends that you be talking to on the phone? And he really be pressing this girl about that. And I was telling her, like, yo, this is not a healthy relationship. It's not okay, especially if they're literally just guy friends. Like, you're speaking to them in a platonic manner. This is very insecure of how he is. And this is not love. Like, he thinks that, oh, just because I care about you and this is that. Bro, no. And he presses her about, like, not responding back quickly. Like, 3 minutes. It's been 3 minutes. Like, I've seen the timestamps. 3 minutes. And like, oh, that's why you're taking so long to respond back. Bro, what are you, like, yeah, you need to get out of there, sis. And we end up in these kinds of relationships with these absurd rules, and then we start to think to ourselves, like, oh yeah, this person just definitely loves me. Like, it's abusive. And that's actually something that Jamila told my friend Corey. She was like, yeah, no, I think that's actually abusive that your ex-partner used to actually punish you just for noticing somebody's attractive or whatever, and kind of like make you feel this like psychological type of wariness over it, like to the point where now it's like you're like I'm like you're freaking out for Denzel just because he made this joke about this like actress or whatever like that. Now there are guys out there who are like, yeah, you know, like they'd actually like leave. Like but I'm just not like that. Like I remember there's a lot of stories in this video, but it's just a very chock full topic. Like I was talking to a friend and, you know, we were talking about, I don't know, we were just talking about stuff. And then I remember like he asked me like, so you wouldn't even freak out if Drake slid into Jamila's DMs? And I'm like, no. I do think that Drake is a very attractive dude, and it makes sense as to why like a lot of women like him and everything like that. And Jamila probably even like thinks that, yeah, no, he's a very attractive guy. I think that she said this before, not to put her business out there. But what? Drake? He's not a threat to me. It doesn't matter how much money he has. It doesn't matter how attractive he is. It doesn't matter any of that, how great of a rapper, how much fame, whatever. Because at the end of the day, our relationship is built on something so much deeper that literally only I could bring to her. Now, I do know of women who, yeah, if Drake slid into their DMs, had flashed the money, flashed the fame, whatever, they would leave their man in a heartbeat. They would do some crazy stuff. I would never be with a woman like that. And if you know a guy who would do the same thing, like, yeah, there's, like, I always make the jokes about Tori Kelly being my ex-wife and stuff like that. And yeah, but Jamila would not be afraid if Tori Kelly, like, wrote me in my DM. She followed me back on Twitter. Another flex. I need to stop flexing in these videos. But yeah, these are different kinds of things. Jamila even bought a ticket for us to go see Tori Kelly. And it's just security. If you are really in a relationship where you are threatened by going to the beach with your partner, by your partner seeing other attractive people, if some celebrity was to slide into your partner's DMs, stuff like that, if you are taking them to the ultimatum and then you're like feeling like, oh no, I'm really about to lose my partner, you don't even have to be with that partner. Either because that partner is actually like just not fit to be in a relationship, or you're not fit to be in a relationship. And you need to work on that insecurity. You need to work on that possessive nature that you might have. And you need to stop also, if you're a victim of this, low-key, don't allow other people to make it seem like you are punishing them for loving you when it's really just possessiveness. Because that possessiveness is rooted not entirely in love, but it's actually rooted in insecurity. And once you detect and notice that, that's when things start to shift. And you don't have to be in that relationship. That doesn't mean that possessiveness is bad, once again. But don't deceive yourself or deceive other people into making it seem like, oh, but it's about love and this is what love is about. That's not what love is about. Love is not scarce. Love is free-flowing. Love it's abundant. And I've always loved the Bible verse that says love casts out all fear. That means that if you are truly in love with the person, you don't fear ultimatums like this. You don't fear that your man or your woman is going to be stripped away from you and stuff like that. because you feel secure. If you're anxious in that love, that's most likely not love. And those are my thoughts for today. So, all of that being said, what do you guys think? I know that a lot of y'all are probably going to be upset about this. I always have two people that dislike whatever video I have. It could be I get 40 likes, it could be I get 100 likes, it could be I get 10 likes, whatever. And there's always just these two people who dislike it and they don't tell me why or why not or whatever. I'm not salty about it. I'm just like curious, but I'm definitely sure that probably those same two people are going to be upset from seeing this. And I understand that I've said a lot of things that might have triggered a lot of people, but I'm open. I want to hear what y'all think. These are my thoughts. These are my opinions. And I do genuinely care about y'all. And I feel like this is something that maybe if we became more aware of, it could actually really help us in our relationships. I made that video on soulmates, and I think that it could really help you to know whether or not this is the person that you want to be with. If you've been taught to view possessiveness as true love, maybe now you can unwire yourself from that. Maybe you can learn to be more secure and more free and find a very secure relationship. Shoot, this could even go into attachment style healing, which if you don't know, Heidi Priebe, good friend of mine, she has a lot of videos on attachment styles that you guys should go and check out. But I would really love to know your thoughts. I genuinely want to, I'll read the comments and I'll respond. And I want this to be like a conversation. I want to be able to see like what you guys think about this, because I know that a lot of my opinions are probably not like as popular. And I don't want to make it seem like, even though I'm confident in them, I don't want them to be like gospel. Maybe I am missing some certain type of perspectives. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like what you see, please give me a like. Also subscribe if you're interested. And don't forget to hit me up at denzelmensah.com for coaching. And yeah, I think that's about everything. And last announcement actually. I've been doing a lot of like features, recently I featured on my ENFP friends podcast, and we were talking about the Barbie movie. So if you want to check that out, I'll put that in the description or maybe like the pinned comment. And I've also been in my friend Karen Nance's podcast. If you haven't seen the last video that I made with her, you guys should definitely check it out. She's amazing. And we're pretty much doing like relationship coaching with people where we interview them and then we kind of like dissect their current relationship or a past relationship that they were in. And we kind of workshop that using Enneagram and Myers-Briggs. I think that you guys would really probably enjoy those. And we've already been working on a few so far that are going to be coming out soon. So definitely try to keep up with us over there. And yeah, I think that's about everything. Don't forget, you matter. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.